Ciao amici, I'm Master Leo Spizzeri, and today I want to talk to you about same-day dough. We get a lot of comments on the Blackstone page on YouTube about making doughs the same day, and people ask my feeling about it. It's something that we've been doing in Napoli for hundreds of years, but the problem with doing a dough fast is that it lacks that fermented flavor. So no matter if you're a pizza purist doing it the way they did it in Napoli, or you're in a pinch and you gotta just get it done quick, I'm gonna show you how to make a beautiful same-day dough. "35 years, this never gets old." As we get started here, I'm gonna get my ingredients all together. You'll notice that I have everything weighed out. On this KitchenAid mixer or any stand mixer, I'm gonna be using the paddle attachment. The paddle attachment is this one, where this is the dough hook. The reason that I'm gonna use two of them is because we're gonna develop the gluten quicker, and this is the whole point of this dough. Let's start with the recipe. I'm starting with 800 grams. This is King Arthur all-purpose flour. Very simple to find all over in the grocery stores. I've got 524 grams of water. I've got 7 grams of instant yeast, 20 grams of garlic oil. We're gonna talk about that in a minute, and 22 grams of sea salt. Let's get going. The first thing I'm gonna add into this bowl is my water. Now, I mentioned that we're gonna be using garlic oil. My process of making that garlic oil started inside of my pizza oven. I almost poached the garlic or made like a confit of garlic oil. It sat in there till it came to a bubble. I pulled it out, let it cool, and what I have here is that beautiful, amazing oil. The reason why I'm adding this to this is because since this dough is so fast in the way that it comes together, it doesn't have that fermented flavor of a regular dough that's had time to rest in the refrigerator. So what I'm doing is I'm adding some of that garlic oil to kind of make up for the lack of flavor that we would have in a dough that's normally going to be ready in a few hours, not a few days. To this bowl, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add my yeast. You know that you're gonna say, well, chef, you said so many times, don't mix the water and the salt and the yeast together. In this case, because we're gonna be going so fast and because I'm using that paddle, it's not gonna bother me. Now from here, on top of this, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add about maybe half of this flour, and I'm gonna start this with the paddle attachment. As I'm mixing, we're gonna stop this for a second. Make sure you lock the bowl. I'm putting this on stir. Really important, because if you add all the flour and you go and put it on second or third speed, guess where all the flour is gonna be? It's gonna be all over the kitchen, and maybe you're gonna look like that I Love Lucy episode and you're gonna be covered in flour yourself. Now that I've got this going, come here, I'm gonna show you this. Inside of this bowl, what we've created is like this batter, right? The batter is actually the reason why I'm able to protect the yeast from the salt, and it's not gonna bother anything. At this point now, I'm gonna put the rest of my flour inside. Look at that. Look at that skill, ladies and gentlemen. You can definitely tell a person who's been doing this all their life just by the way they add that flour to the bowl. Almost no mess, my man. Almost no mess. And again, this one did go in one take, and normally the magic of television would cover me, but we didn't have to, because guess where all the flour went? In the bowl and not on the floor. To this, again, let's put this on stir. Once this gets going, I'm gonna combine all the flour and water and yeast and salt together. And as soon as it starts to clump up, I'm gonna increase it to the second speed. There we go. Now I'm on second speed. My oil is here. I'm gonna let this mix for 3 to 4 minutes, and then I'm gonna have you come back and I'm gonna show you what it looks like, and I'm gonna add the oil. Let's come back and we're gonna watch that next. I've got about 5 minutes. It went a little bit longer than I anticipated, but 5 minutes on second speed on this Artisan Series KitchenAid seemed to do the job. Come on in, I'm gonna show you what this looks like. On the paddle attachment, it's gonna get to the point where the bowl is nice and clean and it's almost just like spinning, right? At this point, I'm gonna open and watch what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take my scraper and I'm gonna kind of cut this straight down. This is called a bowl scraper. If you've never seen one of these before, it's got this curved edge. We're using the flat side of this, and it's gonna be used as kind of like a cutter, right? As I'm gonna put this back into the bowl, we're gonna switch now to the dough hook, and that's the point where I'm gonna add the oil, and this is gonna be super smooth and silky. But if you look at this dough right now, it's actually pretty smooth. It has a couple chunks in there, a couple bits of, not flour, but it looks like it's not fully developed, which is fine, because I can actually take this at this point, and you can see that the gluten has started to form. It's just not nice and smooth yet to the point that I want this. So this is going back into the bowl. I'm gonna bring this over. I'm gonna put my dough hook on now, because this is the point where we're actually kneading. We call this the kneading stage, or maybe we're in the intermediate stages of mixing. From here, I'm gonna give this a turn, and I'm gonna go ahead and give all my oil. From here, this is gonna take probably another 3 or 4 minutes. All we're looking to do is fold in the oil into the dough, create this beautiful, nice and smooth texture, and then I'm gonna show you how to go to the next step. My dough is almost ready, and come on over, I'm gonna show you. If you ever notice that the dough starts climbing up the hook, which is very common in this style of mixer, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop the machine, I'm gonna lift it up, and you'll be able to see right here. It's kind of climbing over the edge. That's why they put this little barrier here. Just take the dough, kind of pull it back down, just like that, and then start mixing again, and it'll be just fine. This needs probably another 30 seconds, and we're good to go. This dough looks beautiful, and it's right at the point that I wanted it. My total time was 10 minutes. I did 5 minutes on the second speed with the paddle. I changed over to the hook, did it another 5 minutes on second speed, and what we have left is this beautiful, smooth, and elastic dough. Now, depending on how quick you need this, there's 2 different methods that I'm gonna use. First of all, if you need to go really fast, let's say you want this dough done within a couple hours, I would take this dough in bulk, just like this, all right? Put some plastic wrap on it and put it somewhere warm. This is gonna allow the dough to start rising in bulk, which there's a lot of heat that we've created now inside of this dough, and that extra heat is gonna activate that yeast and make it go quicker. Cover it for 30 minutes, remove it, and then you can go to the next step. Or, like I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna take this out of the bowl, I'm gonna divide this, and this method, you'll have a dough that's ready probably in about 4 to 6 hours, okay? Because all the fermentation, if you will, is gonna happen at ambient temperature. We're not gonna refrigerate this dough, but it's gonna allow me to say, hey, my kids don't get home from school till about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. By 5:30, I want pizzas on the table. So maybe you started this later in the morning, and then you have some time to do this later. All this is great stuff, and it's, again, based on what you need. Now, you'll notice that while this dough is very smooth and elastic, it is kind of sticky, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get my bowl scraper, which that flat side here. I'm gonna take a little bit of this oil, and I'm gonna put it on my my hands here, and just give this a little sheen on the exterior of this dough. You could see how beautiful and smooth this is already, and because of this oil now, it'll keep it from sticking. If you have a stone countertop maybe, or you have some sort of stainless steel or non-stick surface, this won't happen. But if you're working on any kind of wood, that little bit of oil is gonna help keep everything nice and non-stick. Now, this dough is a pretty good sized dough. We have maybe about 280 grams is what I like to use for a nice 12-inch pizza out of all these ovens. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna divide this. CJ, do you wanna see how to make dough balls?
I'd love to see how to make dough balls. I've actually just sitting here thinking,
I would love to learn how to make dough balls. I'm going to divide this into 6 pieces, okay? And if I did my math right, we should be probably pretty close in weight here. Maybe I give a little extra here. This one feels a little big. It was a little extra here. So the easiest way I can show you how to make a dough ball, okay? If I was doing this myself personally, my method is, if you've never made dough balls, learn how to make it with two hands instead of 1 hand, because you have to learn how to do it anyway. But my method is to take the dough pieces like this, fold them over in front, and I'm pulling back. Put the camera right here so you can see this from the side, right? Pull back, and all of a sudden we're creating this tension here. Now, this side that's open, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna fold it over. You see this seam? I'm gonna fold it over, pull straight back, and again, we're creating tension. Look at how nice and smooth this is getting. My openings are here. I'm gonna turn this, there's my seam, fold it over and pull back, okay? Until we have something that's nice and tight. At this point, I'm gonna take the outside, my thumb, I'm gonna push into the center. I'm not touching the exterior. Look at how nice and smooth this is. I'm pulling this and pinching, and the idea is that we're pulling all the outside to a center point, and that'll give us this nice, beautiful, smooth, elastic middle. Dough balls are all done. We got to store them, so I'm going to grab my beautiful Blackstone dough box, and I'm going to go ahead and line these up inside. Now remember, depending on how fast you need these dough balls, there's going to be some placement. If you want them quicker, put them in a warmer spot. No brainer, right? The yeast needs to be active. It's active right now. It's just in a spot where it's cooler. So if you want it to go quicker, put it in a warmer spot. If you want it to go longer, put it in a cooler spot. But the idea is that this formula, you should not take this dough and put it in the refrigerator, because tomorrow morning it's going to look like the blob and it's going to be absorbing the entire refrigerator into itself, okay? We're going to take this, put it somewhere warm. As soon as I got these dough balls double in size, we're going to come back and I'm going to make a pizza for you. Okay guys, so our dough has had some time to rise. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the dough ball with semolina, and I'm using my dough scraper for this step. I want to place it into the semolina, back onto the cutting board, and then I'm going to start to give it a stretch. I'm using the Neapolitan stretching or the slap technique, but you can do whatever you got to do to get this nice and round. I'm doing about a 12-inch pizza for this size dough ball. To build, we're starting with our pizza sauce, and I'm spreading it evenly all the way around. And then I'm going to follow it up with that low moisture mozzarella. This is those cubes that I did from that chunk of whole milk mozz that I chopped up. I'm going to next follow it up with some Italian sausage that I cooked off, and then some pepperoni. I'm adding a little bit of roasted garlic here that I'm rough chopping, along with some giardiniera. You know this is a classic Chicago style pizza right here. Here's a little Leo tip for you. Go ahead and use a little bit of that oil from the giardiniera so you get a little bit of that pickled heat pop on the edge of this. And then I'm following this up with a little bit of Italian oregano on the branch. This is going to be so classic Chicago style right here. To launch, what we're going to do is I'm gently sliding the peel underneath the pizza, and then I'm going to give this one last shot to make sure this pizza is nice and round, and I'm going to form it on the peel. Next, I'm going into my oven that's right about 600, 650 degrees. And this is going to bake for about 3 to 4 minutes. But what I'm looking for is that cheese to be nice and spotted, followed by, look at the color of this crust. When I'm all done, I'm going to pull this out. I'm bringing it over to my cutting board, and I'm going to add one little touch of some of that roasted garlic oil. And now, guess what, guys? It's ready to slice it up and eat it. This is so awesome. Dude, one of my favorite pizzas, without a doubt. And if you guys weren't here, I have no shame in saying I would eat this whole thing myself. Come in over here. I want to see a couple of things. First of all, for a dough that was same day, this is literally like 2.5 hours total from mixing to eating, right? I want to show you underneath here. Look at the color of this crust, how beautiful and brown it is, right? Then these slices here are so gorgeous. The inside of this, I don't know if you can see really close, but look at the structure that we have inside of this dough. This is money, man. That little bit, I could see the roasted garlic, the sausage, the pepperoni, the giardiniera, all those vegetables, that little splash of garlic oil that we put. I'm telling you right now, this is the perfect bite without even sticking it in my mouth, right? You ready, guys? I'm going in.
Let's see it.
Everything, all the flavors of my childhood in one bite. That giardiniera is the first thing, that pickled little bit of brine that's in there. The sausage and pepperoni on top of it, and then that little bit of garlic, that roasted garlic flavor, just to kiss it at the top. Guys, this is an ultimate pizza. And to say that we made this on a whim, 2.5 hours from start to finish. It's so easy to do this. I hope I inspired you to try this. And next time, if you love this dough, go back to the Blackstone page and look at the rest of the dough recipes. I'm Mastrolito Spazzeri. I hope I inspired you to make some pizzas, and I can't wait to see you all soon. Ciao, amici.